Nicolas Maduro has held Venezuela's top job for less than a year. It's been a rocky tenure as he battles to control record inflation and skyrocketing crime rates. Joining me now here in the studio with more analysis is Mark Weisbrot. He is co-director of the Center for Economic Policy and Research. I was going back when Hugo Chavez died, The Guardian ran a piece detailing what the next leader was going to face. And they said skyrocketing inflation, crime rates that were on the upswing. Chavez was a very charismatic leader. Was this to be expected? I mean, this was sort of what Maduro inherited, and yet he doesn't seem to have the charisma that Chavez has.
Well, you've had high inflation for a little over a year now, and I wouldn't say it's skyrocketing. It seems to have stopped at around 56, 60%. I don't think you're going to have anything like hyperinflation. So, and of course, Venezuela had higher inflation than this before the Chavez era. So I don't think that's going to be the deciding factor. I think they will have to bring it down. But I don't think that that's what's driving these protests. You have to remember, they just had an election in December where the governing party, Maduro's party, won overwhelmingly.
So what is driving it?
Well, you've always had a part of the opposition leadership that doesn't really accept the democratic process. There was a coup in 2002. In 2004, they had a referendum. They didn't accept the results. In 2005, they boycotted, the opposition totally boycotted the parliamentary elections for no apparent reason other than to try and delegitimize the government. So it's only been in the last few years that you have this acceptance of the results. And in April, you had the opposition candidate for president actually claimed that the election was stolen, and he had support from the U.S. government for a while, and that's a very important part of this story as well. We haven't seen there's been no comment yet from the State Department, probably because the federal government was closed today, but I think it's going to be interesting to see, because what they did in April was very aggressive in terms of trying to delegitimize the election, and the Obama administration had to back off after all of South America reacted very strongly against him.
But analysts say that while you're looking at a more equal society, you are looking at an economy that's pretty messed up. In terms of, you see exports in terms of oil, but really nothing else. What can Maduro do to try and stabilize this country's economy?
Well, it isn't quite as bad as, as it's made out to be. I mean, you have to remember, if you look at, well, why did people vote for this party again in the December elections? It's because if you look at the last, 11 years or 12 years since the government got control over the oil industry, Venezuela has done very well. It's really only the last year and a half that you've had the really high inflation. And yeah, I think there's a lot they can do. I mean, they have to stabilize their exchange rate and the inflation rate. The two problems are related. And I think they're going to have a couple of years without an election to do that because they always respond to the needs of an election. And I think that's why this faction of the opposition that's promoting these protests, they want to overthrow the government. They pretty much say that. They don't want to wait for the election. They want to win in the streets and possibly with violence, or a military coup, which a lot of them also support, what they couldn't win at the ballot box.
So what should Maduro do to stabilize things?
Well, I think the exchange rate is the key thing. I think they need to stabilize the exchange rate, and this is something they can do. I think they would need to intervene in the exchange market. They'd have to open it up some, but not, lift all the exchange controls, and they would have to basically interrupt this process whereby you have a black market exchange rate that feeds into inflation, and then inflation back into the black market. That has to be broken.
Let me ask you about the trajectory of these protests. How do you see things shaking out in the next couple of days?
Well, I don't know that they'll really get anywhere. I mean, again, they just had an election in December, and the people voted for the governing party. And so I don't see where they're going to go. I think they look to someplace like Ukraine, which is another place where the U.S. government is very strongly supporting the overthrow of an elected government.
Right.
I think if they can get enough of turmoil, maybe violence, they can get this kind of a situation where they delegitimize the government as they have tried to do many times.
Mark Weisbrot, thank you so much for coming in and offering your analysis. Appreciate it.
Thank you.